Gros bon sens veut dire couper les impôts et taxes, bâtir des maisons, réparer le budget et stopper le crime. Encore, on va couper les taxes et impôts, bâtir des maisons, réparer le budget et stopper le crime. C'est ça, le gros bon sens, et c'est ce que nous allons faire après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau. Il n'en vaut pas le coup. Justin Trudeau n'en vaut pas le crime, et il n'en vaut pas le coût du crime. Après 8 ans d'imprimer de l'argent et financer les bureaucrates qui empêchent la construction, le coût de logement a doublé. Ça, c'est le bilan de Justin Trudeau. À Montréal, le loyer a triplé, une augmentation de 200 %. Il y a 30 camps de sans-abri à Halifax seuls. Les jeunes ont besoin d'attendre jusqu'à 40 ans pour avoir une maison. Souvent, c'est trop tard pour avoir des enfants. Un problème qui n'existait pas avant Justin Trudeau. Ces augmentations de taxes et ces déficits inflationnistes ont forcé 2 millions de Canadiens d'aller à une banque alimentaire dans un seul mois. C'est de loin un record pour le Canada. Quand on regarde nos rues et des files d'attente pour des banques alimentaires, on penserait que c'est la Grande Dépression. Il y a une débat si on est dans une récession. Pour ces 2 millions de personnes, ce n'est pas une récession, c'est une dépression. Après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau. Bonne nouvelle, c'est que le Canada n'était pas comme ça avant Justin Trudeau. Et ça ne va pas être comme ça après lui. Et je sais qu'il va diviser des gens avec la haine et l'agressivité qu'on voit pour distraire du dommage qu'il a causé, la criminalité qu'il a instiguée avec ses politiques, la pauvreté que ces politiques ont causée. Mais on ne va pas être distrait. On va pas être distrait. On va se concentrer sur le gros bon sens. Je vais juste partager une histoire. Hier, j'étais au port de Montréal. J'ai dit, il nous faut des scanners pour scanner des conteneurs qui quittent notre pays avec des voitures volées. Article dans le CTV. C'est un article sur un gars qui s'appelle Mark Roos. Son Dodge Ram a été volé. Heureusement, il avait un Apple AirTag dedans. Et ça montrait que oui, c'est allé au port de Montréal. Quelle coïncidence. Donc, il était heureux. Il a appelé les policiers. Les policiers ont dit, on ne peut rien faire. C'est l'agence qui doit faire quelque chose. Donc, il a appelé l'agence. L'agence dit, il faut appeler les policiers. Imaginez si le port de Montréal avait des scanners pour savoir dans quel conteneur il trouvait le Dodge Ram. C'est intéressant que CTV a oublié que j'ai présenté cette solution hier. Ils n'ont pas mentionné ça dans l'article. Ils n'ont pas mentionné non plus que Justin Trudeau nous a donné cette crise. Mais j'ai des solutions basées sur le gros bon sens qui va mettre des criminels, des voleurs d'auto en arrière des barreaux et qui va inspecter et scanner des boîtes pour empêcher le vol d'auto. C'est ça le gros bon sens. Et sur plusieurs enjeux, nous sommes le parti de gros bon sens qui va couper taxes et impôts, bâtir des maisons, réparer le budget et stopper le crime. Thank you very much, everyone. What Canadians need now is a common sense plan that axes the tax, builds the homes, fixes the budget, and stops the crime. Axing the tax, building the homes, fixing the budget, and stopping the crime is just common sense, and it's exactly what we need to repair the damage after 8 years of Justin Trudeau, who has doubled housing costs by funding bureaucracies that block building and printing $600 billion of inflationary money. He's given Canada the most expensive housing by far in the G7. Housing costs have increased 40% faster than incomes, the worst gap of any G7 country, the second worst of all 40 OECD countries, twice as bad as the OECD average. Our housing is now 25 to 45% more expensive than the States, even though their economy is 10 times bigger, their population is 10 times as large, and they have less land to build on. He's made it so that Vancouver has the third worst housing prices in the world. We now have 30 homeless encampments in Halifax that we never had before Justin Trudeau. Our young people have to wait till they're 40, even though when I was housing minister, the average age to get a home was 29. That was only 8 years ago. Incredible how affordable housing was when I was minister. It was $750 to rent an apartment in Montreal when I was minister. Now it's over $2,000, a triple in one city. After 8 years of Trudeau, 2 million people line up at food banks if you look at these images, just put them in black and white. What do you see? You see the Great Depression. And all the wonky economists are debating whether we're in a recession. For those people in those lineups, we are not in a recession. We are in a depression, a Justin Trudeau depression. The country's falling apart. The country is falling apart. Yesterday, there were nearly a dozen drug overdoses within an hour in Belleville. This is after 8 years of Trudeau effectively decriminalizing hard drugs and funding opioids and unleashing chaos by releasing repeat violent offenders into our streets. And in order to distract, he spreads fear and falsehood. He attacks hunters, small business owners, Muslim parents. He divides Jews against Muslims, Hindus against Sikhs. He divides East against West. He divides business owners against workers. He is tearing the country apart to distract from his appalling record of rising costs and rising crime. And we expect to see more of it. And just one quick story. Here we have in CTV a news story about a Gatineau man who had his Dodge Ram stolen, put an Apple AirTag in it. Thank God he did that. And so he found out that it was at the Port of Montreal, pinged that it was over at the port, where I was yesterday talking about car theft. So he called the cops and said, good news, I know where my car is. They said, well, we can't help, you have to call CBSA. He called CBSA, they said, we can't help, you'll have to call the cops. CBSA says, we don't know what box it's in, so we can't get you your Dodge Ram back. And it just so happens I have a solution for that, which is that we should have scanners that allow us to look into the boxes to figure out what's there. Now, Trudeau spent the money on consultants. I'm going to spend it on scanners and 75 border officers so that we can open the right box and Mr. Roos can get back his 2021 Dodge Ram. That's a common sense solution. So that's what we need, common sense, to repair the damage that Trudeau has caused after 8 years. He's not worth the cost, he's not worth the crime. But when I'm Prime Minister, we're going to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime.
Do you support age restrictions for puberty blockers and hormone therapies for trans kids?
I think that Justin Trudeau is trying to divide and distract Canadians by spreading disinformation about the decisions that premiers and parents are making.
What do you think? What do you think?
I want to know your position.
What is your own party policy? It's your own party policy. At party
I
convention.
think we should protect the rights of parents to make their own decisions.
What does it mean?
With regards to their children. And I believe that adults should have the freedom to make any decision they want about their bodies.
But minors, ban surgeries and medical interventions for minors, as your own party members suggested.
Medical interventions like what?
That is the language that your party
What medical
used.
interventions?
Well, you would have to ask your party members.
What medical interventions?
Such as puberty blockers and hormone
For minors?
Yeah. Yes.
Irreversible? You're talking about irreversible?
I'd like to understand your
I just want to be
position.
clear. No, I want to be clear. I just want to be clear.
For minors.
Puberty blockers for minors?
Do you agree with that?
Do you agree with that?
I think that we should protect children
What
and their
does that
ability
mean?
to make adult decisions when they're adults.
So
And
you
that
think
would affect-
only
I
adults?
think-
Only adults should make. You said yes. Just to be clear, you said yes. Only adults should take puberty blockers.
I think we should protect children, let them make adult decisions when they become adults.
So that means
you do
you
support age
so that means
restrictions?
you are against puberty blockers for kids under the age of 18. Is that
Yes.
unclear? Okay. What about? Can I ask you about in Alberta?
By the way, I just want to make another comment on this. Justin Trudeau is again puffing out his chest, trying to divide Canadians and attack parents who are trying to protect their kids. He will, in the end, back down on this, just like he had to back down on his firearms policy, just like he had to back down on bringing in medical assistance in dying for people suffering from mental illness. Just like he's backing down again and again and again, he will back down on this because he is not interested in protecting kids. He's interested in using this as a divisive wedge to distract from doubling housing costs and quadrupling carbon taxes on our people.
But it's so you're against puberty blockers for kids under the age
Yes.
of 18. Hey, what about opting
Yes,
in?
I am.
What about parents in Alberta having to opt in for sex ed? Where do you stand
Every
on that?
lesson,
No,
sir.
that's a decision for the province.
No, but what do you think? What do you think? What do you
Ask you a
think?
question on Ukraine, please. There is a measured decline in support for the war in Ukraine, especially among your voters. What is your message to them, specifically them, to convince them that Canada must remain on side?
My message is that we have to defend against countries that are mercilessly invaded by aggressive powers so that we dissuade dictators from this kind of aggression. And, you know, I would say that Justin Trudeau has done absolutely nothing on this file except divide Canadians. He deliberately divides on the subject by inserting a carbon tax in a trade amendment that has no place there. And Canadians are against the carbon tax. I'm against the carbon tax. Trudeau never should have tried to divide Canadians on Ukraine by forcing the carbon tax into that agreement.
Monsieur Poilievre, il y a le Québec qui demande à ce que le code criminel soit modifié pour permettre les demandes anticipées pour l'aide médicale à mourir, donc par exemple pour l'Alzheimer. Est-ce que vous, comme premier ministre, donc Québec demande à ce que le code criminel soit modifié par le gouvernement fédéral pour permettre l'aide médicale à mourir de façon préemptive? Est-ce que vous, comme gouvernement conservateur, vous autoriseriez un changement du code criminel pour permettre ces demandes anticipées à l'aide médicale à mourir?
Moi, je dois étudier l'enjeu spécifique. Ma position, c'est que l'aide médicale à mourir n'est pas appropriée pour la dépression ou la dépendance de drogue. Je pense que le gouvernement Trudeau est allé trop loin en proposant l'aide médicale à mourir pour la dépression et pour d'autres problèmes de santé mentale comme les dépendances de drogue. Sur l'enjeu spécifique dont vous parlez, je dois étudier davantage.
Would you grant a Ukraine free trade deal if you become Prime Minister?
We brought in the Ukraine free trade
The
deal.
new one, the new version.
There is no new one. What there is
It was just passed in the House of Commons yesterday.
If I could, what there is a carbon tax amendment. You know what would happen if this deal didn't pass? Nothing. Because we already have a free trade agreement. What we have now is a carbon tax amendment to a pre-existing deal.
So what would you do if you become Prime Minister?
We're not going to honor a carbon tax amendment.
But your supporters
We're
already
going
don't
to-
like the carbon
we're
tax.
going to-
Why don't they support Ukraine?
They don't,
That's your
because
question.
they don't support the carbon tax.
So
They
you
don't-
think that all of their support, their declining support for Ukraine is linked solely to the
carbon
carbon
tax?
tax
Carbon
in
tax?
this free trade deal?
The carbon tax was inserted by Justin Trudeau, not by my supporters. Why did he do that? No, but I'm just curious. Can you explain to me why there is a carbon tax in the agreement?
No, but the question is why.
No, I asked you a question. You keep asking what the agreement is.
We're the journalists.
Why do you think you're saying?
I have the freedom to ask questions if I want to, and I've just answered. I've been answering your questions
All
all
right,
week.
here's another
So
one.
no.
The government's introducing
why would
an
they do a
investment
carbon
tax
tax?
credit.
You're not changing the subject. I know you want to change the subject.
I wanna ask a
because you don't want to
question.
talk
I wanna
about
ask a
Trudeau's
question.
carbon tax. You
I
don't,
want to ask a question
Yeah.
because in a democracy,
Sorry.
we ask the question and you answer.
and I decide the answer I give. And the
Yes, you
answer
do.
and the answer is this: we will axe the tax. And Trudeau can try to divide Canadians by putting a carbon tax in a free trade agreement that we already had for years. It won't change a thing.
It's misleading.
Because I will axe the tax, and I will axe the tax with delight and with passion and with incredible speed. So when I'm Prime Minister, you will be shocked at the speed with which I will axe the tax. And the Canadian people will be able to look up at the gas stations and see the prices coming down. And Trudeau can try to distract from his hated carbon tax by putting it in a free trade amendment to a pre-existing agreement. It won't stop me because I will axe the tax, I will axe the tax, and I will axe the tax. Thank you.
But not an industrial
Carbon
emission.
pricing system.